Having covered supertypes and subtypes and the constraints on the supertypes and subtypes, then let's look at this example of a hierarchy. So what we are looking at is going to represent a university system model where the general entity type is person, and in this case it is going to be the root of our hierarchy. We also have major subtypes of the root. So we have employees, which is any person that works in the university. And we have student who is any person that attends classes. And then we have alumnus, who is any person who have graduated from the university. So a person might belong to more than one of those subtypes. How do we know this? Is by this overlap rule right here. A person can be an employee, can be an employee and an alumnus, can be an employee and a student, can be all of those. So by this overlap rule, it says a person can belong to more than one of those subtypes. So the attributes that apply specifically to each of the subtypes are shown in here. So the employee will have date hired and salary, which are the specific attributes for employee that not every person necessarily will have. For student, we care about major and department. For alumnus, we care about the degree, which is a multi-valued composite attribute. So the alumnus can have multiple degrees, and for each degree it is a composite attribute, so we'll have the year and the date and the designation and so on. Now for employee, it's partitioned into two subtypes. We have faculty that has a specific attribute called rank, and then we have staff that has a specific attribute called position. And then when we look at this, the subtype employee is a supertype for faculty and staff because there may be other types of employees. Then we have partial specialization. Employees can be faculty, can be staff, can be something else like janitors, like security personnel, student assistants. So that's why we indicated by partial specialization rule. But if we look closely, we have the disjoint rule here that says an employee cannot be both faculty and staff at the same time. Now let's look at student, which is partitioned into two subtypes as well. We have the undergrad, which is undergraduate students, that has the attribute class standing, senior, junior, and so on. And we have a graduate student that has an attribute of test score, for example, for JRE or any other test. And an undergrad student cannot be a graduate student. And this is the total specialization rule and the disjoint rule tells me it's not just the case that an undergraduate cannot be a graduate, but we cannot have something that's just a student. It has to be either a graduate student or undergraduate student, and it cannot be both at the same time. So the difference between this part of the ERD and this part of the ERD is the double line here and the single line here. The single line here tells me that I can have an employee that is just an employee. It doesn't have to be necessarily a faculty or staff, but I cannot have an employee that has more than one position or that belongs to more than one type. In this case, it tells me I cannot have somebody who's just a student. That somebody has to be either a graduate student or an undergraduate student and cannot belong to more than one subtype or more than one type at the same time.